Greetings, family. Welcome to another episode of Grunt TV. I'm your host, Malik Shabazz. And before I start, just remember, share, and mash that like button. Anyway, I had initially put a preview video on 9/11 that I was going to do on 9/11, but I decided I would wait one day just to see how it was being reported on the 21st anniversary of 9/11 and see what they were talking about. And I did just that. And one thing that I saw missing was everybody was talking about just the Twin Towers. And a few talked about Building 7, which a lot of people don't know about, that just fell in its own footprint with nothing hitting it. But there were 4 planes. What about the plane in the Pentagon? Nobody really talked about that much, about that much, which no plane was ever found. How is it possible for a plane to crash into a building and the plane just disappears with everybody, the engines, the people, the luggage, everything? And all you find is just some scraps on the floor? Like, really? Anyway, it's always been, let me just give you a quick backstory on 9/11. I was working I was a security supervisor at a central bank. And this gentleman came into the front door and said, "Yo, man, did you hear?" I said, "What?" He said, "A plane hit one of the Twin Towers." I was like, "For real?" I said, "Damn, it was an accident or something, I guess, right?" Said, "I don't know, man, just, I said, "Oh, okay, wow, that's crazy." So I went into the TV room. I had another guard with me, and since I was a supervisor. Anyway, I went into the TV room while my partner was had the front desk, and I was watching the news, and all of a sudden the other plane hit. And I was like, "Oh, man, this is not an accident. This is deliberate. So this is an attack." And I'm going to be honest, my first instinct was, well, a case of the chickens coming home to roost. I even started writing a little poem about the chickens coming home to roost. But then, because I thought that, after all the attacks that America has done all over the world, bombing people into smithereens, they finally got punched in the face. Oh boy, but how wrong I was. This is 2001, so I was still, I would say, in my infant stages of study and reading and research. I just came out the military just a few years ago. And I was, so anyway, that was my first instant. But once I started looking into it, and then Loose Change came out, I was like, "Oh, snap. These freaking criminals did this to themselves. It was a false flag operation, So now the way people are talking about it is really kind of, I guess, sad in a way. I don't know what the right word is right now, but like, nobody's asking, the fingers are being pointed in certain directions, and nobody's holding these criminals to account. I said, okay, look, it happened a long time ago, blah, 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 blah. This is the same thing with the Kennedy assassination. I was born in 1964, and Kennedy was killed in 1963. So I grew up believing that Lee Harvey Oswald was the sole gunman, and he's the one that killed Kennedy. But you see, a lot of people believe that back then. Not everybody, because there's a few that didn't believe the official story. But for the most part, a lot of people did. And it took a long time for a lot of this information. Even now, more and more information is coming out about the CIA's involvement in the Kennedy assassination. Now, when they talk about coups all over the United States are doing a coup in Chile and in Nicaragua and in Iran, and all these places around the world. But you know what? Nobody talks about the coup that they did right here in the United States of America, inside the empire. There was a coup, and that coup was when they put Kennedy's brains, splat his brains all over the car, onto his wife. And let me just say this for a fact: I'm not defending Kennedy because he was a racist pig, son of a bitch, liar. So fuck him too. Because he talked all that shit about bringing peace to the world and all these pretty flowery words that he used, but he was back in the back rooms with the CIA plotting to kill Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. They got the Che, but never got the Castro. So as far as I'm concerned, Kennedy is a freaking piece of shit. Him and his whole family. And his Robert Kennedy, the one that's running for president, he's a fucking piece of shit too. So anyway, so and then what? It's even more infuriating that I grew up in New York, and my boys grew up in New York, my peoples, and they still can't seem to get this through their freaking heads, and I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get how they can just not care. But anyway, that's the way things roll. But I'm gonna make this video not too long. But and I'll probably get into a little bit more deeper. But with the time constraints that I've had preparing for this upcoming symposium that we got going on October 7th in Davie, my hand's been kind of full. So I've been trying to move around as much as I can. Plus, my back right now is a little hurting, so I'm nursing my back. So anyway, I'm gonna just show a couple of clips, come back to the narrate while the clip is being played, and then you make your comments, share your comments, make comments, call me crazy, say whatever you want. But all I know is that Cheney and Bush and other elites that we don't even know about behind the scenes, along with probably with foreign agents like Israeli Mossad, all of them were involved. All of them were involved. Now, how is it possible? Listen, how is it possible? Okay, I'm going to do two comparisons. When supposedly Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy, right? Nobody saw his face. And within an hour, minutes, whatever, his face was plastered all over the news. Now, how the hell did they know who it was? And how the hell, and when they picked him up at the theater, somebody called about somebody coming into the theater without paying, and they sent a bunch of cops for somebody who, in 1960, for a white boy, to send all these cops, and then all of a sudden they grabbed him and said that, he was charged with killing the president. He was like, yeah, what are you talking about? I didn't shoot nobody. So they found him that quick, all right? Why did I say that? Because at 9/11, within an hour, they already had the people's pictures plastered all over the news about who was responsible. Now, how in the hell did they find that out so quick? Tell me, how did they find that out so quick? Okay, you don't have to be a scientist. You don't even have to be well-read. All you got to do is just use a little common sense. That's all you got to do, just a little common sense. Okay, that's all it takes. Because here's another story the New York Times ran, that they found one of the so-called terrorists that was on a plane that hit the tower. His passport fell out of his pocket, and they found it on the floor in Manhattan. Really? See what I'm saying? You don't have to be well-read. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to do nothing. All you had to do is say, yo, a guy was in a plane. He crashed into the tower. His passport came out of his pocket and fell down in Manhattan and on the floor. How stupid do you think people have to be to believe something like that? But this was a crime of the highest order, because not only that the U.S. government killed its own citizens, initially, but then all the people that died afterwards from breathing all that poisonous air, when Christy Todd Whitman, who was the head of the EPA, told the people that the air was safe to breathe, that she knew it was a lie, and she knew it was a lie, and then people came out and they told them don't wear masks because that would frighten people, so people didn't wear the masks, as opposed to, remember, the COVID, wear masks. You see what I'm saying? You gotta just follow the stories and just put them together side by side and look how they play out. Okay. Here's one more story, and I'm gonna go on to the video. The Columbine shooting. If you read all the reports and you read actually the local papers, they say that they found bombs planted throughout the building. So you mean to tell me that these white boys planted all those bombs, carried all those guns to school with nobody seeing them, and did all that? Now, if that's true, they should have been working with the CIA. That's how good they are. But these are just ragtag students with no education, probably don't even care, probably had a third grade reading level, and you expect us to believe that this is what he did? This is what they did? Really? I'm going to put this out there into the ether because I know it's going to come out soon. These mass shootings, these are false flags. They're fucking with people's minds. They're picking people out. They're identifying people on the internet who they think they can manipulate, and they get having them do this stuff. Now, just not too long ago, there was a guy who was on the internet who was approached on the internet by a CIA agent, but he was not, he was undercover, and he was portraying to be this guy's friend because this guy, I guess he was writing on his Facebook or whatever, his media social platform, how he was like a loner or whatever, and then so they figured they could get him, and then after, they offered him money to go to it was Ukraine or somewhere to go get guns and everything. I guess he got scared because he didn't really think it was, it was going to go that far, whatever. So he actually called the FBI office and told him that there was a guy trying to get him to get guns and commit terrorism. But what he didn't realize is that the FBI was doing that. You see what I'm saying? So you got to look at all these angles. Okay, so now I'm going to do this really quick. I'm going to play this little clip, and I'm going to pause it at the end, and I want you to tell me who you think said this. Okay, I had to put it on pause. I can't tell you if I wouldn't ask you to guess, but only if you guessed it and you were wrong or whatever, only you know that because I wouldn't know. But guess who said this? And I'm sure a lot of people are going to say Bush, but we'll see. Guess who said this?
February 27th, 1933. At 9:27 p.m., a massive fire erupts inside the Reichstag, Germany's House of Parliament. Marinus van der Lubbe, a 24-year-old half-blind Dutch communist, is found half-naked behind the building and arrested on sight. After an interrogation and trial, Marinus is beheaded 3 days before his 25th birthday.
Now look at that dude. You see that young man? Freaking somebody that, they just picked up any cat off the damn street and blamed it on him. But anyway, that's...
Historians argue that Gestapo police entered the Reichstag through an underground tunnel and soaked the building with chemicals and gasoline, with Marinus van der Lubbe arriving later to start the fire with his shirt. Later that evening, Adolf Hitler and Hermann Göring meet in front of the flaming debris to round up a list of communists and execute them that same night. The next day, Hitler passed the Reichstag fire decree, which suspended most civil liberties and banned publications considered unfriendly to the Nazi cause.
Just like today.
Hitler then takes Nazi control of the German parliament, passes the Enabling Acts, and begins his invasion of neighboring countries, starting with Poland.
Sound familiar? The Patriot Act, then they attack Afghanistan, and then Iraq, and then Syria. Okay, so it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Now let me just show you one of the clip with Jesse Ventura. And Jesse Ventura, just listen to what he
At
said.
RTA Cabinet Store, quality cabinetry ships in 3
These commercials get me all the time, boy. Get me all the time. I gotta figure out
days or less, and you can assemble it in hours. Work with our design.
Jesse, what would you have done on September the 12th, 2001? What would you have done if you'd been president?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
I would have done a legitimate investigation to find out what exactly happened on 9/11. How did they know who did this so quickly like they did Lee Harvey Oswald? How quick they knew Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy.
Because the people who did it were identified and we knew who they were.
Well, then why couldn't we have stopped them beforehand if they were identified and we knew who they were?
It was a failure of intelligence. Everyone's accepted
No, it
that.
wasn't. We knew before with Condoleezza Rice's memo on August 6th when it stated right in the memo, bin Laden to steal planes and run them into buildings. And more stuff is coming out now also, how much the Bush administration ignored the intelligence. It was almost like they ignored it because they wanted it to happen.
Oh, come off it, Jesse.
Well, they did it. He said they didn't want it to happen. They did it.
No, not come off it. Wait a minute. Every war fought starts with a false flag operation.
You can't, in all seriousness,
Vietnam,
and try and make out anybody.
Okay, let me ask you this, Piers. Wait a minute. Let me ask you something. How much studying have you actually done of 9/11 other than what the government's told you and what mainstream media has told you? I've been studying it 4 years.
I was editor of a national newspaper.
I've talked to
people.
Wait a minute.
In depth every day for 5-6 months.
Really?
So I know a lot about it.
Well,
one
then
thing I do know is,
let me ask you this
you cannot say that any member of the Bush administration knew it was going to happen and wanted it to happen. It's a ridiculous thing to say.
Ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about your BBC. I have a tape of a BBC reporter broadcasting directly back to England talking about a third building has collapsed, World Trade Center.
And the building's still standing behind her. As she's reporting that the building fell and the building's still up.
Building 7 talks for 7 minutes. All the while she's talking, World Trade Center. Building 7 is still standing right behind her. It didn't fall for another half hour. Yet they were doing a pre-broadcast back to England that yes, it's true
you need to
that this building fell and it hadn't fallen yet.
If you're trying to make out the British Broadcasting Company, one of the most respected news organisations in the world, was
just so you know, this guy Piers Morgan, he's a fascist, racist, pig, lying-ass motherfucker. That's it.
Inventing huge buildings falling over. You need to have a break, Jesse. We'll come back after the break and we'll talk about Israel and Iran.
Are you kidding me?
You see how he cut him off? No, we're gonna take a break. But he got a plug in his ear. Hey, get that motherfucker off the goddamn stage and change the subject. We can't have none of this. Why did I put him up there? Because there's other people that I could put up there. We have so many different individuals. Why did I put him? Because everybody knows him, and if an individual like this, who's actually a governor of Michigan, saying this stuff, then, we have to say, wait a minute, if a former governor, and he's coming out and saying all this, but like I said, again, I'm not here to browbeat you. I'm just going to tell you that, 9/11 was a crime of the highest order. It was committed by the U.S. government. In fact, I saw an interview yesterday. Dr. Shiva was interviewing Kenneth O'Keefe, who's a former Marine, and he taught this class, and they did a study where they took the Twin Towers and then they drew lines like like the pharmaceutical companies were their profits margin was dropping, and then 9/11 hit, and then it went up, and then they went through another aspect of some bills that were having difficulty passing in the House, and then all of a sudden the 9/11 hit, when those bills started flying through with like flying colors, with flying colors. So again, just use a little common sense and know that this was a crime of the highest order. Nobody's been to prison. Condoleezza Rice should be in prison. George Bush should be in prison, and anybody that's alive that was around in that time that covered that up, they should be in prison. So it's gonna, again, and it's so disappointing to me that even my own peoples, they don't even know. They knew it happened, but that's all. That's the extent of it. That's the extent of it. So anyway, on that note, family, I just wanted to give you a brief thing, just kind of just like I say, I could go into this really, really long, but I'm not going to go into this so long because I just want to give the information to people, because right now, whether you believe that the official story or not, that doesn't matter. Your beliefs are not based on your emotions. Okay. So anybody that wants to talk about, anybody wants to debate or have a discussion about 9/11 with me on here on Grunt TV or in a public forum, I'm down. I'm down, and I will bring all the receipts. But know this: the story. I mean, one last thing, real quick, because like I said, I got so much to say, but I don't want to stay too long on this video because I just want to kind of give you everybody a brief introduction, and hopefully you can take it upon yourself to really find out, especially young people. Okay, because remember, Kennedy was killed in 63 and I was born in 64. So now anybody that was born in 2000, 1999, or 2000, or even 2002, whatever, like they're gonna grow up believing this. They might believe in the official lie, the official story, which is the lie. And so if these young people may start looking into it, they might be able to have a breakthrough and find some way to go after the people who committed this crime. So on that note, I just want to tell you peace and love. Don't forget to hit that mash button and make a comment. And I'm going to, I know that I also put out a premiere video on the new virus. I had to push that one back a little bit because, like I said, I was bogged down with a bunch of stuff, and I wanted to do the 9/11 one. So I'm going to probably do that probably like on Wednesday, but I'm not sure, so I'm not going to commit right now. But again, 9/11 was a crime. If you haven't seen Loose Change, An Amerikkkan Coup, you should watch that. You can go on 9/11 Truth, 9/11 Truth. There's a whole bunch of websites, and you could hear engineers and physicists and all these other people who basically knew that this was an inside job. So on that note, my people, I appreciate the love, and stay strong, keep studying, and let's overturn this capitalist, imperialist, colonial settlers global system, and let's bring balance back to planet Earth. Peace and love. So here we go. Okay.